Are you prepared?
Kinda.
All right.
As prepared as I'll ever be.
For us?
What?
You got any stats for us?
I mean, I've got like the team stats pulled up and the individual stats pulled up, but like it's about it.
I got that too. Okay.
It's pretty good to me. So
right.
We are recording. Let me count her down. 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back to Reds Country Radio. We have made it to the All-Star break. The Reds are slightly below 500, but they're only 3 games out in the wild card. Still a lot left to play for. I'm Donnie. We're going to talk about it. Steve, how you doing, bud?
I'm good. Good to have you on the left coast with me. I'm usually sending the podcast recording times in Eastern time because you boys are both back in the glorious city of Cincinnati while I'm out here on whatever time Arizona time is. But you're out here on the left coast, Don. So
yeah, I'm kind of a little family vacation in Oregon. It's funny, Steve. It was originally timed up because my brother used to run those cruises for Reds games. So we originally planned this so that he could make it. So it was during All-Star week intentionally. And then he went and quit that job anyway. So he was able to join us no matter what. But it's been great. It's been a good little time off. I'm here till Saturday, so nice.
Hell yeah.
So
nice.
Rob, welcome. How you feeling, bud?
Good, man. How are you? It's been good. Holding down the fort while you're gone, Donnie. It's been hot and rainy here in Cincy the last week or so. So been don't know what to do with myself these last couple nights. Like we had the All-Star game last night, the home run derby the night before. But it's that weird time of the year where there's no baseball and none of the 4 major sports are playing games. So it's a rare break, I guess, for professional sports.
You could cheer on FC Cincinnati, Rob.
I could, yeah. I'm not a big soccer guy though, so.
Hey, me neither.
Doesn't. I mean, they draw a lot. They get good crowds down there from what I see, but good for them.
We got WNBA going too.
Yeah, I was about to say the All-Star game is in my hometown, adopted hometown this week. So you can cut the tension with a knife.
Wow,
there you go.
Exciting, Steve.
It might just be that hot too, that kind of thing. But
yeah.
So, but it's you're right. It's a interesting time. We'll be putting this out on an off day like we usually do, and then Friday, second half starts up.
Yeah, right back to it. The Reds finished. We'll say they finished, or they played in July. Their play in July was a little volatile. We had some highs and some lows. The St. Louis series was kind of tough, and then going into a series against the Yankees, we're pretty much feeling like, wow, even though we got this easy stretch later in this month, the Yankees are going to just, if they sweep us or something, we are going to be so far out of the contention. It's like we're obviously going to be sellers. Like we started talking dirty about all the bad things that could happen there, and then we went and swept the Yankees. And
improbable.
We got some great Twitter back and forth with the John Boy crew. That was fun. Just kind of seeing them melt down about how the Reds could beat them. And to be fair, they were not, they have a great record still, but they were not playing well. They were on a tough stretch.
Reds caught them at a good time.
All that momentum, and we start a series with the Tigers and promptly get swept by them. The Tigers, they have a similar-ish record to us, maybe slightly worse. I think they're also a team that's better than their record. But, yeah, getting swept by them was not what you wanted there. And then we kind of, I'll say, limped into the All-Star break. We won both those last 2 series against the Rockies and the Marlins, but both of those series felt like they should have been sweeps too. We had, of course, the highs of Rece Hinds coming out of nowhere and just hitting nothing but homers. But any thoughts on those July series, guys? We can start back at the Yankees series or really wherever you want to go with it.
Yeah, my initial thoughts were, they like you said, Don, they kind of limped out of St. Louis, kind of their tail between their legs, and they go into the Bronx and promptly sweep the Bombers. That was very improbable to me. That kind of came out of nowhere. And then coming back to Cincinnati and promptly getting swept by the Tigers. Very volatile, very all over the place. Just kind of played my emotions a little bit, kind of reading the group chat too. It seemed like I was kind of playing with your boys' emotions a little bit as well. That's all part of being a Reds fan, I guess.
Yeah, that Tiger series, I gotta admit, it was a rough one for me personally. I personally do not think anything of the Detroit Tigers franchise. I understand that they were good when we were all in high school, but they have not been nothing for about a good decade now. And maybe it's my bias, but as a Reds fan, I thought we were better than them. We got swept, so we are not. But yeah, that was rough. And then I said some uh, unbelievably bad words. Not really, but I didn't say some good words in our group chat. And Don, you rightfully called me out. You're like, Steve, you can't do that right before you play 7 games against the living corpses of 2 MLB franchises called the Colorado Rockies and the Miami Marlins. So
The dreaded C word.
yes,
Yeah.
so a
Steve
5-2
threatened to give
stretch.
up on the season is what we're getting at there for those that aren't
In
in the know.
Steve's defense, I was the one that brought it up in the group chat. I said, "When do we get to that point?" Because it feels like it's soon.
Yep.
At that time, at least.
Yeah, you know.
That's
Like-
the weird thing about the NL being so not necessarily bad, but just tight and bunched up, kind of in a mediocre spot where we're still only 3 games out of the wild card, and we maybe, I don't know, 4 games out after that sweep. Like, it wasn't like that sent us into the doldrums. Like, we were all right, and I knew we had those games coming up. It's one thing to think that the Tigers are a bad team. The Marlins and the Rockies are really bad teams. So again, that's almost why 5-2 is a little disappointing there, especially when it felt like we could have won those other 2 games. But
both 1-run losses too.
Yeah.
So you know.
And so speaking of that, though, back to the Yankees series, 2 1-run wins against one of the best teams in baseball. That was huge. We needed our luck to turn there a little bit. Honestly, I think that's kind of a lot of the first half. You look at our expected win loss. I think it's something like we should have like 52 or 53 wins, and our we're 35 plus 35 run differential. I think.
Yeah,
really
the Pythagorean win theorem for us on Baseball Reference is 53 and 44. So
yeah,
no.
we just can't win the close games.
Nope.
And so turning the corner there was great. Seeing Alexis Diaz close 2 straight 1-run games, that was a little.
Did the heart some good.
I was biting my fingernails off, but it worked out. He's looked a lot better lately, which this team needs absolutely.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah. I think like Don, we should talk about just the bullpen in general being really good recently. I mean, other than Fernando Cruz, who I think is, part of like getting a lot of usage recently. Other than him, like the bullpen's been pretty darn good recently. I got to find the stats for it, but I've been really impressed with what I've seen from them. So, I don't really think that we should gloss over that. And starting pitching has been really good. Hunter Green, Lodolo's coming back from his blister, but previously he was better than that. I do think that a bullpen that's really rounding into form as we get into late July, August, September is only a good thing.
Yeah, the bullpen has been pretty nails. Speaking of the pitching more, though, how do you feel about Carson Spires pretty much Wally pipping Graham Ashcraft out of a spot on the 26-man?
Yeah, didn't really see that coming. I mean, granted, Ashcraft had his struggles this year, but looking at Spires' pitching stats right now, let me just pull them up real quick.
Yeah, my guy.
He's 3-2 right now with a where's his ERA at? 3.83 ERA through 5 starts right now. Not too bad for the guy coming and taking the 5th spot in the rotation. It's better than what Ashcraft's really been giving us most of the year, it seems like. So.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And poor Graham, man, he got called up for his bobblehead day and then got sent down immediately after. And then they changed it to a phantom IL, So it is kind of interesting, though, that like Graham has kind of been pushed aside this year. I mean, it is unfortunate because we really liked him in 22 and 23. And, it feels like that foot injury kind of hurt him a little bit. He did have a solid run earlier this year, but Spires has been really solid 5th guy for us, and he followed up Hunter Green's 6 consecutive strikeouts with his own 6 consecutive strikeout performance on Friday night, which kind of was the upset of the century. Honestly, I did not expect that. So if you were following us at ATBBTTR, you saw me tweet. This is the first time a Red's done that since yesterday against with Hunter Green. So
That was nuts.
yeah, that was pretty crazy 2 days in a row. I'm pretty sure that's never happened before. I did not have anyone come up with that stat for me like I was hoping to, and I don't want to pay for stat head, so I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna say it. It's first time it's ever happened.
Yeah, the starting pitching overall going into the break was fantastic. Hunter Green and Andrew Abbott were just going back and forth with like all-star level starts, and of course Hunter ended up earning an all-star spot. He actually has the most WAR of any pitcher in the National League at the all-star break, and Andrew Abbott's number 5, I believe.
Hunter Green has a 3.6 WAR. Abbott has a 3.0 WAR.
Yeah, we talked about Graham Ashcraft as being a like extension candidate, and of course Lodolo was in those talks too. When do you talk about extending Andrew Abbott?
I'm kind of surprised you haven't extended all 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
Like, do the Braves thing and just do like do the Hunter Green thing and give them like relatively cheap contracts. I don't think you have to give them all Hunter Green money. You could probably get a couple of them on a discount and really just buy out their arbitration years. I'm all for that. And they've been 3 of your top 4 WAR players on the team, according to Baseball Reference. Elly being the second highest, and Abbott 3, Lodolo 4. I've really liked what we've seen from them so far this year.
For what it's worth, fellas, Hunter Green right now sports a nice 3.34 ERA. Andrew Abbott is right behind him with a 3.39 ERA. The only really big area where Green has a huge leg up on Abbott, besides like WAR, is the strikeout numbers. He has 30 more strikeouts than Andrew Abbott does right now.
Yeah. Abbott's not really going to win you many ladder bets, but
No.
Hunter, hey, if you guys took that over 189 and a half, strikeouts for Hunter Green before the season starts, I mean, knock on wood, but I like what I'm seing so far.
It's looking pretty good.
That's all I'll say. So
He's still got that streak going of 5+ Ks every single game, right?
I don't know about that. I thought he well, I guess that Seattle game he still had 7 Ks even though he only went 4 innings. So but I would believe it. I'm going to look up his game log because I have the ability now.
Yeah.
But he's been great. I was happy to see him pitch in the All-Star game.
5, 6.
He and Elly, of course, were the Reds representatives in the All-Star game. Although Hunter Green did give up a 2-run homer, that was the difference in the ballgame for the NL losing 5-3 to the AL. But still great to see those guys out there.
I'm pretty glad. Sorry, go ahead, Rob.
Hunter Green's had at least 5 strikeouts in every game he's pitched in this year.
Yep. So I like what I'm seeing from him. And I'm pretty impressed that I only got one fan responding to the video of him saying it was fun to pitch in the All-Star game by saying it's fun to go out there and pitch poorly and lose. I'm like, guy, come on. What are we doing?
He gave up the winning runs.
But they don't.
Yes, sure. But find me anybody who's like crying today as a fan of the National League where your team plays one game a year. So I don't know.
There's no way.
I kind of go into the All-Star game and it was assuming the National League's going to lose because they've won like one game in the last like 10 years or something stupid like that. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but
Elias Diaz last year won the game last year for the NL. But other than that, it's been a rough stretch for us NL boys.
Yep. Yeah, thankfully this game doesn't mean anything anymore for our home field advantage.
Yeah, that was looking back on that was stupid. Like that was dumb. I understand why they did it because like they thought it was a mockery that the game ended in a tie. I'm like, guys, you took it too seriously. We're supposed to be like, wasn't it a few years ago in Miami where they were like taking selfies with the ump at or on the field or whatever, or like Machado and somebody were taking selfies on the field. I don't know. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. That's it.
Yeah, it's a meaningless exhibition baseball game. We did get to see a Paul Skeens pitch. No strikeouts for him. That was kind of an upset. More shots of Livy Dunn than Paul Skeens strikeouts. So,
True.
Yeah. That was kind of expected, though.
Not complaining.
It's a spectacle. The whole week is that, and it was good to see those guys get there. I'm sure both Hunter and Elly will be back many a time. Do you think? So this is Elly's first All-Star game experience. Probably wanted to just kind of drink it all in as that. Do you think he would take an invite to the Home Run Derby, say, as soon as next season?
I would hope so.
I don't see why not. Like he's one of MLB's most marketable players. He hits the ball. He's one of the guys who hits the ball the longest, and like a young showdown of him and O'Neill Cruz, like those two guys, like they hit the ball the farthest and they hit the ball the hardest. So I saw John Boy post something about how it should be where similar to the NBA, they only limit the 3-point shooting contest to the guys that are the best at it during that season. Like they should only limit it to whatever 15 guys that hit the most and hit them the longest and the hardest. And I mean, Elly would be right up there. So I don't see why not, honestly. I mean, maybe like, I don't think it's really affected any of like recently. You tell me if I'm wrong, but we have not really seen the homer slump that we used to get talked about after home run derbies, just because like it's dudes that are consistently hitting home runs. Like I don't think Pete Alonso's ever seen a slump after competing in the derby.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think that's a real thing. Maybe it's a not anymore thing, or it's different. But so many of those guys are swinging. Like, could it be like that was before the launch angle revolution, where some of those power hitters always have that home run swing now, rather than like just switching to it for the All-Star game? So yeah, I mean they're going to strike out a lot. They're going to hit a lot of home runs. That's the home run derby, and that's also just their current play style.
Yeah. But to be honest, it would be electric to watch him because there's not a stealing bases competition. If there was, then I would like to see Elly do that. But I would be all for watching him in the home run derby. It is kind of sad that the highlight of our success as Reds fans in the last 15 years has been watching one of our players win the home run derby. Like it's the only time I've ever felt like I don't know, like we achieved something is when our player won it, but
I think Major League Baseball, they have to like incentivize the big dogs to play in the home run derby more too, because I feel like it's kind of going the way the slam dunk contest has gone in the NBA All-Star game, where back in the day, Michael Jordan and all those guys were in it and did the home run derby, had Griffey and Sammy Sosa and McGuire and all those guys in it too, all the big dogs, and it's not really like that anymore. It seems like.
Yeah, why the hell was Ozuna in it? That's what I want to know.
Right. But who was Alex Bowman? I didn't get a chance to watch it, and I missed it. So was Bowman? He's only had like 11 home runs this year, or something like that.
He did well though.
He got to the second round. Yeah, and then like Donnie's guy Bobby Witt was in it. Teoscar Hernandez won it. Like I think Bobby Witt, Gunnar Henderson, you should have those guys in it for sure. Yeah. Jose Ramirez seems like he wants to do it, so I'm all for that. Same with Pete Alonso. Like I think the intrigue is there with him. I didn't really have a problem with any of the guys doing it. I was kind of just maybe hoping for maybe a younger star, like if not Elly, then O'Neill. Like O'Neill Cruz hits just taters, so I would love to. Like I think eventually, as these guys get a little bit older, a little bit more confident in themselves, they'll be able to just go out there and have fun and do it. And I would love to see Elly do it. I mean, Charlie Clifford from WLWT tweeted at us what Elly's custom home run bats would look like, or home run derby bats would look like.
Oh God, insane!
Yeah, it'd be
absolutely ridiculous.
He was wearing the Louis Vuitton cleats last night, so
those are sick.
But man, I think Elly would win if he wore the City Connects to the home run derby. Just like next year, it's in Atlanta. Probably should hit as a right-hander because it's probably harder to hit left-handed home runs in Atlanta. But you wear the City Connect in Atlanta, right-handed hitter, just bop him over that short left field wall out there in Atlanta. Sign me up. Let's do it.
I saw today on Twitter, I guess there's discussions of Major League Baseball going back to the teams wearing like the home and the away uniforms of the teams they're representing in the All-Star game, which is the way it should be, in my opinion. I didn't really care too much for the uniforms of the All-Star game, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
wish they go back to wearing their normal uniforms.
I think at very least you should have not a doctored version of your hat, but you should just wear your team hat. Maybe that could be a bridge at least.
Do you remember a couple of years, or this was more than a couple of years ago, like us, like 10 or 15 years ago, whenever like Votto and like Brandon Phillips were all stars, and the way they denoted them that as they were all stars before the game, they gave them like the 2 like gold stars on the side of their hats. They can go back and do something like that, like during the season too. That could be like a cool way to distinguish like who's an all-star, who's not, leading up to the game.
Yeah. I like that.
Or like they put the little stars around like the patch on the back of their jersey.
Yeah.
Too. I do like that too. That was nice. But I am more of a fan of bringing back just the jerseys in general, like every player's own home, like actual team jersey, just because I don't know, like having the jerseys flip flop to me doesn't really make sense. Like I think that was kind of the fun part of the Derby is that, you know, those jerseys were for like the practice, and then like, you know, those guys get to wear those that night. Like I did consider for a while buying a Todd Frazier All-Star Game, like the national jersey, just because he won the Derby in it, you know? So I never ended up pulling the trigger, but I wanted to. Not for lack of want to, you know. Maybe there's still one out there floating somewhere.
Sure.
So before we dig into kind of our thoughts around the trade deadline and the rest of the season, one thing we definitely didn't really touch on enough is kind of wrap up the final couple weeks of the season. The offense really turned it around. One of the biggest sparks to that was basically an emergency kind of injury or depleted call up in Rece Hinds, pretty highly touted prospect. I think he was a pretty high draft pick a handful of years ago. Came out of nowhere basically though, and like he wasn't really expected to be a contributing player this year. He was in AAA playing decently well, striking out like half of his at bats or something. Came up here and hit like the most extra base hits of all time in his first 3 or 4 games. He's got like 5 home runs already. He hit 2 in the other night. This kid's a freak. What did you guys expect this? I mean, we had seen some pretty powerful home runs from him in the minors, but I'll be honest, I did not expect that to translate to MLB. It's obviously very early. That could change, but Steve, where did this come from?
Pure Aristides Aquino magic. I have no other way to describe it other than that. I also wonder if playing, not to rain on anybody's parade, I do wonder if playing 2 bad teams does kind of feed into that. But man, just all the love in the world for this guy. Like it's so cool what he's doing, and he seems to have just a lot of joy playing the game, and you can just tell whenever he would hit a moon bomb and he's just smiling at it. Like I've never really seen a player do that. I mean, I'm sure they've done it before, you know, and he's not really like trying to hype up the dugout too much. He's kind of just like admiring his dinger, you know, just smiling. I really like that.
He's living in the moment.
It's like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now. Smile.
Yeah.
And the broadcast was talking about this week how he was really, you know, his mom was crying. Like he was like, he couldn't believe that he was going. He talked to Elly before, like he was literally in shock that on his drive up from Louisville to Cincinnati. So I kind of wonder if it's just, you know, like the all of the moment, and I hope it's set in for him, man, because this is just like a literally historical start. I'm looking at his Baseball Reference page right now. A slug of 1.192, OPS of 1657, and an OPS plus of 341. Fellas, those are some pretty good numbers, I will say. Like that's
he was making history by himself through his first like 5 or 6 games of the league. Like he was in a company of his own.
I'm sure one of the first rookies ever to win Player of the Week in his first ever week in the big leagues. And I already saw too, he's tied for like 6 in NL rookies with home runs. So he just insane start for him.
That's nice.
Well, we all, you know, this is also surprising considering if you followed like the Louisville Bats or if you follow like the Reds minor league system at all, like he was not hitting that well in AAA, albeit he's been hurt a couple of different times this year as well, and even into last year. But yeah, he comes up and we all knew he had elite power, and he comes up and he's hitting every tater into the second deck. Like the shortest home run he's had so far is the grand slam he hit like last Friday night.
Still 396. Yeah.
It's incredible.
insane.
I was at the game where he hit the grand slam, and it looked like a normal fly ball, but it just kept carrying it, like went over the fence. Like, it was crazy.
I also kind of wonder if just like the hot temperatures this week like kind of helped that too, because I mean we saw in the Tiger series at least and the Rockies series too, ball was just flying out of the yard. Like it just
Oh yeah,
I'll take it.
I wanted to ask you guys, like, I mean, obviously it's good for us because on that Saturday game we had the 3 home runs in the same inning with Rece, Elly, and Candy. But I kind of wonder, and I want to get back to Rece, but I'm just quick question: do you guys think these teams who play in big ballparks like are just savoring the chance to come to GAPP and hit some cheap dingers? Like, because the Tigers play they moved the fences in recently, but Tigers, Rockies, obviously, and Marlins all play in huge ballparks. So playing in Great American must be like playing on like a little league field to them.
playing in the bandbox.
Yeah, we'll get into some of that when we talk about the draft. But there's a reason we can't always get that many pitchers in free agency to come to Great American, because they know that they're going to give up some home runs when they wouldn't have otherwise. That's how it goes. So,
but to get back to Rece Hinds real quick, it's just impressive to see what he's done. And, some of our friends on Twitter were talking about how he had like a 40% strikeout rate. It's still at 25% right now, so eventually maybe adjustments will happen. But and I don't want to, so guys, I don't know if you remember this, but during the 2019 season or the lead up to the 2020 season, we were talking about, how we were going to have the DH. And I was like, you got a guy on your team, same number as Yordan Alvarez, same power as him. Aristides Aquino is like the same. I basically called Aristides Aquino the Reds Yordan Alvarez, and that didn't really work out. So I don't want to put too much on Rece Hinds yet. I just want to be like him, sit back and admire the dingers, watch the show.
And the thing too with Rece Hinds is like all of his home runs, like he's not up there like hunting fastballs and like blasting fastballs as home runs. Like the home runs that he's hitting, they're coming off of fastballs, changeups, curveballs. Like any pitch you're throwing up there, he's just crushing it. So I think he's also proven he can just be like an all around just a hitter, like just any pitch.
Well, I was going to comment on that. I'm pretty sure most of his first few hits, doubles and home runs, and whatever, were all on the fastball in his first few games. And then I was like, the commentary around, I was like, hey, they're going to adjust. They're going to not throw him as many fastballs. They started throwing him more breaking balls, and he still hit them.
Yep.
I think there was an awareness that they were going to do that, and he had made the adjustment to like be ready for that, which is impressive. And I think going to the point too of like, well, he was playing well, but he wasn't playing this well in the minors. How do you do better in the MLB? And of course, it's still a very small sample size. But I think we talk so much about baseball being a very mental game. There's absolutely a factor to guys coming up to the highest level and it challenging them in a good way where you play your best ball against the hardest opponents. I think we didn't play the best teams, but at the major league level, it's even the worst teams are a lot better than AAA.
It's still Major League Baseball,
right? They're still getting paid millions.
Yeah, I'm just so happy for him, so impressed like that he's been able to do this, and I want to see how long it can last, man. Because I mean, my friend Elliot, who works for Chatterbox Sports, was talking about how if he has like a Hinds Sanity or a Aquino type run, you could really elevate this team. And like, I know we've been talking about, and we're going to talk about the trade deadline, but having a guy like that can just pop you a few homers and win you a few games. Like I do think the Reds have been really looking for some kind of pop in their outfield. Fraley, unfortunately, has not been the same power hitter this year as he was in the past. And obviously there's a million reasons for that. No criticism towards Jake, man. He's going through a lot this year. And, like we just got Austin Slater, 1 home run this year. Stu's popped a couple this year against lefties. How about Stu? And then obviously Spencer Steer is kind of your traditional outfield bat in the sense where he's been able to really produce and hit a lot of home runs for you. But Rece has been able to step in from that power spot in your outfield and really step up and do something big for this team. And if he can keep it going through the end of the season, that is huge for the Reds.
It's a difference maker.
Yeah. I mean, with a guy like Martini, who was, he had his role on the team. He's injured, probably out for the season, essentially. it's good that I don't think even if Hinds regresses a little bit, I think he'll be better than Martini. And even when Frito comes back, Benson's been playing a little better. So like our offense could kind of put it together a little bit. And I think Hinds will still have a great role there. Maybe they platoon a little bit. I'm interested to see how it all kind of plays out, but they're in a good spot.
I'm interested to see his first few games back from the All-Star break too, because he was, as hot as a firecracker going into the All-Star break. And, sometimes if guys are that hot and they get that 4 or 5 day break, it cools them off real quick. So, be a good test to see how quick he can bounce back. If he can maintain it or, not fall off the face of the earth. And also one more thing I want to add too, like I went to, the game on Friday against the Marlins. And he got a pretty nice cheer from the crowd when they introduced him to the plate. So he's quickly becoming a fan favorite. Seems like.
Sure, that'll happen when you hit that many home runs and whatnot.
No doubt.
But even it's almost been, we haven't really even been able to talk about it as much because of how good he's been. But guys like Tyler Stevenson hitting a lot better. He had a handful of home runs in the last couple of weeks. What was it? He had 3 straight games with the home run, I want to say. John India won Player of the Week and had that stretch where he hit like a double in like 5 or 6 straight games. Guys are putting it together a little bit. Benson hit a home run recently. The same thing kind of happened last year. We played really well right into the All-Star break, and then we had that terrible stretch afterwards, right? We lost a bunch of games. So hopefully these guys aren't partying too much. They're enjoying their time off. I don't know what we blamed it on last year, but somehow we did not refresh. We came out flat after the All-Star break last time. So these guys are not rookies anymore. They've got another year of experience, and they haven't been playing well in some senses, but or as well. But hopefully we hit the ground running coming out of the break.
I'm gonna break our rule a little bit. Notice we're not doing the schedule thing anymore. Last year the All-Star break was sandwiched around the Brewers. They ended with the Brewers, the first half of the season ended with the Brewers, and the next half began with the Brewers. We had played some really bad teams going into the All-Star break, and you get 3 games of the Nationals coming right out of it. So it's a good time to make some hay. I know I'm kind of breaking the rule a little bit, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, so let's zoom in here real quick, and we'll show the schedule coming up here. So you got Nats for 3, the 3-game roadie right out of the break, which is tough. You got the Nats for 3, Atlanta for 3, and the Rays for 3. So have not announced any pitchers just yet. That is a nice part about that. And then if you just look at our projected starters, you're looking at I don't think Green's going to start on Friday, considering that he was just at the All-Star game, so he's probably not going to start till Sunday. I'm pulling up Fangraphs here, sorry. But so, just look at our projected starters. I think if you just push Green back to the end here, or he probably would start on Sunday, right? So if you just do Frankie, Nick, and Hunter, I kind of like that. That's not terrible. So give these guys a chance, and then we'll see what happens from there. So I do think though it will be interesting to have Nick Martinez start for us. Looks like Spires is on the IL right now, and he's gonna be on the IL for a little bit until we come back, and he comes back off the 15. Same with Graham. So, but I do like this stretch right here. I don't really think much of the Braves, but you got to I think you got to win 3 against the Nationals, boys.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Get back up to 500.
Nationals just got rid of a few guys, including our guy, Nick Senzel. So unfortunately, he is no longer with the Nationals. So, but we've got Jesse Winker still on the team. And then I believe Tanner Rainey is still with the Nats, but Nick Senzel now with the White Sox. So sorry to Nick.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I no offense to anybody, but man, being a White Sox fan, that's rough this year.
Well, you can play the outfield with Andrew Benintendi then.
Yeah, exactly. 2 Cincinnati boys in different ways reconnecting. So
there you go.
But I do think, and Rob, if you do want to play the schedule game, The Rays are at 500 right now. The Nats are under 500 and selling already. Atlanta, that's going to be a tough series, of course. Like their hitters have not been as good this year, but that it's always just hard to play the Braves. They've earned it. They're really good. So
they're still the Braves.
They are still indeed the Braves. The Braves offense is not doing the Carabas tweet this year, but they're still pretty good. They still got a stacked lineup. So I that's just a tough 9 games out of the stretch. So I think if you can stay alive, you got the Cubs and the Giants right after that. We'll see what the Giants end up doing. That's right. That Giants series is right after the trade deadline. And we'll see which way the Giants go. Same with the Cubs. There's a lot of, I think this 9 games will really say what direction the Reds are going to go by July 31st.
Yeah, so that's kind of the debate right now. Are the Reds buyers or sellers? You look at a 47-50 record, and that doesn't scream buyers. It doesn't necessarily scream sellers. With the context of this race being so tight, you have that extra playoff team that we've gotten for a couple seasons now, but they're only 3 games out and playing really good baseball, the pitching especially. Injuries are a problem for this team and have been. I think that you need to kind of think about that to contextualize what they'll do. People hate here and they're like, oh, well, TJ Friedel's coming back. That's basically an acquisition. It really is for if you hate that rhetoric or not. But where they do have some thinness now is starting pitching. You mentioned Spires went down, Ashcraft went down with injury, I mean. And I'm a little so do we bring in a 5th pitcher to kind of bridge the gap there? Do you put Martinez back to the full-time starting role? How do you is there someone out there that fits that profile? I don't know.
Is Trevor Bauer still sitting out there?
Oh, geez.
We're gonna play this game. We're gonna play this game.
Oh, oh boy. Okay. Well, it's been nice. Donnie has walked off the screen, and then we've gone down the hill here. No, I don't.
The show has gone off the rails.
Yes, I don't think that will happen, Rob.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think that eventually, Spires and Ashcraft will come back. I almost said Williamson. I don't think he's coming back.
No,
but I would not be surprised if they tried to go bullpen for a couple days. I think it will be one day, and then they'll get Spires. But I wouldn't be surprised if they try to bring up like a Lyon Richardson, or maybe try to stretch out Tony Santillan a little bit. Richardson is probably the only guy I would bring up right now, just because of just because right now he's probably our best option out of AAA this year. Phillips and well, I will say Julian Aguiar as well. You probably should bring him. He has Rule 5 status this year, and he's pitched really well. So if you wanted to give him a chance, you can. You can bring him up. He is on the 40-man, I believe. So I don't think I think he is, but I got to check. Anyway, I would like to see Aguiar come up, maybe give him a couple starts, probably Richardson. If you really wanted to, you could go the Brett Kennedy route again. I forgot about him, even though he is injured. Connor Overton is making a rehab start. There's a lot of internal options.
Connor Overton, man.
Yeah. The more fun option for me, Don, is if you go out and get a guy from, say, like, whoever the A's got on the scrap heap, or you get somebody that is basically just going to fill 5 innings. Or the most fun one is you reunite with Luke Weaver and just ignite the offense.
The Dream Weaver.
Yeah, Dream Weaver, bring him back, ignite the offense every 5th day. I don't really think that's going to happen. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. I don't think that they're going to make any moves within the within like the rotation, but do you think they should go pick up a bat, or do you think we'll just play it safe and do a reliever? From the Athletic, who I like on their baseball stuff, they did say that the Reds are interested in possibly adding for next year. But to me, that just says, if it's still a guy who's in the major leagues right now, who's to say that they don't come up and help us right now and potentially get us in this race? And I know that one last thing. Apparently, MLB executives use Fangraphs like the rest of us, baseball nerds, and they use the 7 to 15% playoff odds range. And guess where the Reds are? 8.2%, baby. We're right in the window, right there. Baseball reference odds are a little bit more friendly to us. They're at 29%, but they use the Pythagorean theorem. And not to hold anything against playing the Rockies, because you got to beat the teams you beat. But I think our run differential is pretty heavily floated by all those wins against the Rockies. So if you take those away,
plays the Rockies, Steve. Come on.
I agree. I understand that. But when it's come within like 7 games against one team, that's only my thought, So, and not every team has played the Rockies 6 times this year.
True.
But what do you guys think? Would you rather them get a bat or get a starting pitcher?
Steve, we're in a weird spot again where before Rece Hinds was the greatest player on the face of the earth, I would have absolutely said go get an outfielder. But
we did.
Yeah. We got Austin Slater. We got Slater from the Giants for Alex Young, who's already been cut by them. But, our 4th best left-handed pitcher kind of made sense. Slater is going to be what he is.
He's a backup platoon outfielder.
With Frito coming back, with Fairchild hopefully coming back from injury soon as well. And
Chance McClain comes back.
McClain is now, baseball activities.
He's doing baseball things.
And even an infielder coming back does kind of firm up Steer as an outfielder more. So, there are certainly Reds Twitter faithful out there that would be mad by that take because we should be pursuing Juan Soto and the like. But I don't know that we need much help on offense. And I say that just realistically, there's not the upgrades that are available out there. I don't think are really worth it. Especially, you'd be taking away playing time from guys that are playing better. I want to see Benson continue to work on his craft. I want Marte to figure it out. Maybe in the minor leagues, but I don't know. I think Rece Hinds filled a gap there, and I think if Friedel does come back and not become the next Nick Senzel of injuries, I think we're going to be okay. The offense doesn't even need to be the best offense in baseball with how incredible our pitching's been. So I think go snag a reliever or maybe another Nick Martinez type who could do both, starting and relieving, and see what happens.
I think knowing what we know about this front office and the trades they make, in and around the trade deadline, if they are making a trade and trading for a player, it's a very ho-hum trade. With a few years ago, they went out and they got Luis Sessa and Justin Wilson at the trade deadline. I think it'll be a very similar type trade like that.
Yeah.
Was that 2001 or 2002 or 2021, 2022 when that happened, I believe?
It has been a long time, but yeah, there, I was kind of going back and forth with fans on our page this week, but just talking about the draft pick, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but it is kind of surprising when you think about it. If you think about it, we have not really made a big move to bring in a player since probably in a trade. We have made free agent moves, of course, but since the Bauer trade, to be honest, I don't really think we have made a trade, and maybe it's just because we got burned on the Puig trade, and we didn't really get burned on the Bauer trade. I think we probably did the best out of the 3 teams that were involved in that. But
you won the Cy Young.
Yeah, but Krall has seemed to live on the margins in the trade world per se, and there's also just a weird trend of us picking up guys who are on literally their last baseball leg before they go off into minor league obscurity and never see the light of day in the big leagues again. So
it's the road.
Yeah. So I don't know. It is kind of disheartening, obviously, when I don't think we're going to make a big move at the deadline, and that's fine. Obviously we are very injured. I don't it makes sense to me that they would just say, okay, we're just going to make a couple small moves and try to get the roster better for next year. Maybe if we stick around long enough, we'll make the playoffs. But I don't know if this is a team that is like the Diamondbacks last year that wins 84 games and somehow makes it to the World Series. I don't I don't know if this is that kind of team. I would love to think it is, just because of the 3-4 pitchers you have at the top of the rotation. I think it's fair though, Don, that like you don't really know what we're gonna do and if we should do anything. I'm definitely like I do understand why people are upset that it's been, obviously 34 years this year that the Reds have won a World Series, but I do think that you can't continuously mortgage the farm if and I'm not apologizing for them here. I'm just stating that if the Reds choose to not really spend too much in free agency and choose to not really make big trades and mortgage their farm system every year. And if that's what they've chosen, that's fine. I understand that. I still like the team. Your mileage may vary with that decision, but to me, it's just I guess what I'm saying is my expectations aren't going to be hurt this year because I know what my expectations are. Yeah. So sorry. Long rant cut short there.
That's a good way to put it.
And speaking of kind of how people react to all these kind of things, we can jump into the draft now. It was a little bit of a controversial draft for the Reds. They had lucked into, so it's the lottery system now. We kind of lucked into the number 2 overall pick. We are not the favorite there in the odds. And so it was all about, there was a lot of debate on who we're going to take. We were going to have a shot at a top 5 player, no doubt. We ended up, rather than Charlie Condon, who was kind of the best available bat, he's an outfielder, a lot of upside there. Really, really good hitter, no doubt. We took a pitcher. We took Chase Burns, starting pitcher out of Wake Forest, previously from Tennessee, transferred to Wake Forest, where they have an absolutely incredible pitching factory there. Rhett Lauder, who the pitcher we took the previous year, also out of Wake Forest. So we like the Wake Forest pitchers. We've been pretty consistent the past few years, and they like up the middle. They like the shortstops, and they like the pitchers. It's not that surprising that we didn't take a corner outfielder, but some Reds fans are pretty disappointed. And a lot of the commentary I saw around that, I started replying to people on Twitter because I can't not. But so many idiots referencing this year's current team and like a lack of outfitters with why we should have drafted an outfielder who I know there's been some exceptions to that, but generally if you draft a guy this year, maybe he cracks he won't crack the opening day lineup in 2026. Maybe he gets caught up midway through. Probably not really a full-time contributor until 2027. The Reds are going to do something different with the outfield before then. Even if they make some poor moves, they're going to make some moves. The outfield is not going to look like it does now. Maybe it'll be better. Maybe it'll be worse. There'll be other weaknesses in 2027 and 2026. So the people that are referencing this current major league team as to why you should draft a certain player, I think that's foolish. Even at worst, drafting another pitcher when we have a depth of pitchers means now we have more trade capital. This pitcher maybe is less valuable to us than he is to another team. And we can go get your top outfield prospect when you've got 5 of those, and we've got 5 top pitching prospects. Make a swap there, and you get a good value mix. So I like them taking the best overall pitcher, clearly the best overall pitcher. The best overall batter was a big debate. It wasn't really a standout number 1 obvious guy. I don't expect the Chase Burns to be the next Paul Skeens, but I think he's going to make his way through the program pretty quickly, and I would love to see him in the rotation for years to come.
Yeah, like I think MLB TV said he has like a Skeens-like trajectory, whatever that means. We'll see it when I believe it. But yeah, they're saying he could potentially crack the lineup and possibly end at 2025, 2026. When they first made the pick, I was kind of confused. I didn't really like the pick, but I'm kind of coming around to it a little bit more now. I really wanted Condon or Weatherholt, one of those big bats, but yeah, like you said, Don, you don't know what your needs are going to be. It's 3 or 4 years down the road. Baseball draft is the biggest crapshoot I feel like of any of the other drafts and all the major 4 sports. But yeah, it's pretty clear with this draft pick that pitching philosophy is going to drive the bus for this franchise moving forward, and they're going to load the cupboard up with arms and roll on from there.
We've done a really good job developing pitchers recently, and
absolutely, the draft history for pitching has been pretty stellar these last 4 or 5 years. So,
Yeah, the last two number one picks they used for pitchers, it was last three number one picks, Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Rhett Lauder. I'd say those are pretty good. And Burns, that's four. That's gonna be four solid dudes. Whether they're all in the rotation at the same time or not, doesn't really matter. They're all solid guys. And I do like what and I'll say it here for the podcast audience that didn't really see the take on Twitter, but the Reds, while the Reds have not really attempted as much to sign high top line free agent starting pitchers, I was reminded of Sonny Gray and other dude. Now I'm forgetting, but
Wade Miley.
Well, so people were,
baby.
Yeah. So hold on, I'm pulling it up here. They were
Jeff Hoffman.
Apparently, we offered. I had forgotten about this. Apparently, we offered Aaron Nola like solid money before he re-signed with the Phillies this offseason. I'm like, what? Like we did, but
I must have missed that.
Zach Wheeler, right?
Yeah, well, Zach Wheeler, but that was 2019, and then Sonny Gray this offseason. But
yeah,
I like if they have not shown that they want to, give starting pitchers that type of money, and like Philly's kind of a small park too, and it's kind of known for home runs. And Sonny Gray was a guy who had pitched here before, so you probably had maybe a little bit of a better chance of getting him back here, and he chose to pitch with the Cardinals, and he's dead to us for that. So but
I love Sonny.
No, I'm just kidding. But I do if it is really hard to bring pitchers in to pitch at this ballpark, or if it's that, or if that's just your excuse for not trying, then maybe offer money and see what happens. But if they're, again, like I said about expectations, if you don't expect them to do that, and they draft pitchers and they develop them to be good, I'm fine with that. And you can always there are always free agent outfielders that can be signed. You can always, I don't know if you can always sign a Nick Castellanos, but there are always free agent outfielders that seem to be coming up left and right. So, and especially at a park like Great American, I don't know if you need a really prolific home run hitter to come in and bop you 10 or 15 every year. You can I've wanted them to take more chances on guys who get DFA'd by other teams just because of how many homers they would hit at Great American. And they seem to not do that. They seem to just take the scrappy guys who, hit for singles and doubles. I'm like, just go get the dude that hits 15 home runs. But that is also the problem with this Reds team for about 20 years now, is that they've seemed to try and build teams to hit a bunch of home runs, but then the other team gets to play here 81 games a year and they hit a bunch of home runs too. So
yeah. Steve,
I'd rather build out for pitching.
The player you just described, his name is Mike Ford, by the way.
Yes.
How did that work out?
Yeah, exactly. So
2 weeks.
Yeah. No, it's been an interesting season. We've had some highs, we've had some lows. We had a pretty big gap in the podcast between we've been traveling. It's it's the summer, it's July, 4th of July, whatever. But I believe last time we talked, we were kind of talking about the trajectory of the season. What did they need to do to really kind of rally back? Where do they need to be at the end of each month? How many? What does your record need to be each month going forward? We made the point, especially with how tight the NL is, you don't have to suddenly go 10 games over 500 each month to make the playoffs. You just got to kind of chip away. And we kind of thought we'd be in an even better place at this point with how hot they were, at some point in June, and then they got a little cold. But they are chipping away. They're getting back into the mix. They're playing really well, and if they keep that up, they're going to be back to 500 pretty soon, and then you go from there. Where does this team need to be realistically? Let's say maybe at the end of the month or within the next 6 weeks. At the end of August.
Yeah. So
what's the path?
So I think the path is look at the three teams that are right below you here: Giants, Cubs, Nationals. You play those three teams within your next 5 series. That's where you can really try to make some headway if you're going to get there. You don't play the Padres anymore. You don't play the Diamondbacks anymore. You got the Mets later on, Cardinals later on. You play the Braves later on too. And the Braves, they're still the Braves, but they're only 9 games over 500. I say only kind of in jest, but here's the thing though. I think you got to win all three of these series, especially because the Giants and the Cubs are at home and back to back, and then the Nats are they're good. They're not great. They're kind of sliding right now. So I do think that you can really get some momentum here over the next couple weeks if you take care of business against those three teams. And for me, Don, I don't really mind. I was thinking about posting this, and I didn't want to get roasted, so I held off. But I don't really mind being in the chasing pack this time around, because previously we've been either in the division lead or in the wild card spot, and I don't mind being kind of still waiting back and being able to come from behind from a few teams, just because you give, for example, I don't think the Pirates are going to stay in it. I know they have Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, and Mitch Keller, but I don't really see what other offense they have or that they're going to bring up. They're kind of just operating off of the backs of those three pitchers. So, and as you can see here, they have not really played that many West Coast games. Maybe they'll go through the same gauntlet that the Reds did with the West Coast. We'll see about that. The Padres, I think the Padres are good, and I think they will make moves. So let's not worry about them. The Diamondbacks, they're one game over 500 right now. And, the local sentiment around here is that obviously they've been hurt, but it's just to me, they're another team that's probably not going to make a crazy move at the deadline. So I think you need, obviously, a couple of these teams here to fall off. And I don't think the Mets are going to fall off. I don't believe in the St. Louis Cardinals unless they're just using the devil magic again. So,
yeah, look at that luck score there. We're looking at these standings on Baseball Reference.
Oh yeah, look at this.
Cardinals +6 in luck, and the Reds have a -6. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and then the one run, obviously, Reds are 8-18 in that record, and then the Cardinals are 18-12. So some of these teams got to fall down to earth, because while I don't know if the Reds are as good as their Pythagorean win theorem, look at the Cardinals, 44-52. The Mets are right in line. So are the Diamondbacks. So are the Padres. But if you flip flop the Cardinals and the Reds with their Pythagorean win theorem, we're right in that second wild card spot.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at. As much as it's one thing to look and say, "Hey, we're only 3 games back." You make a good point, though, that it is really crowded. You need some of these other teams to kind of fall off. Having 12 teams in 12 of the 15 National League teams within 3.5 games of the wild card or better, that's crazy. And I hope it's not sustainable. I need some of these teams to kind of clear out of the way pretty soon. But,
Yeah, I agree. And then the other thing, too, is that you still got a 4-game set in Miami, although the Reds have not really played well in Miami. You still get to play them. Like I said, you get to play the Giants, play Cubs, and you don't get to play the Padres anymore, but you get to play pretty much the rest of these teams, and you don't have to play the Dodgers or the Phillies anymore. So
yeah, our brutal stretch is out of the way for sure. No
yeah,
doubt.
but again, I'm not playing the schedule game with this team anymore. It's worn off. Yes. Yeah. So, but all I'll say is that the gauntlet is in front of them. They have the ability to change their own destiny, and they play a lot of the teams in their neighborhood in the wild card division. It's in the wild card standings.
Right.
Play well enough against those teams, and hopefully you stay, above 500 or around 500, and you get to a point where if you get Friedel and McLean back, if that can kind of push you over the edge, I think that's where this team really needs to be. I think it's the most realistic expectations for me, at least, is stay around 500. Then if McLean and Friedel can push you over the top, if and when they come back, great. If not, then
man, I would love to see Matt McLean back in this team.
That would be amazing.
And I love that he would be joining a team with a good infield already. John India and Candelario playing really well. See what happens with Marte. I hope he figures it out. Maybe they send him down. I don't know. We'll see there. But hey, there's a lot to be optimistic about. I think we're in a lot better place than we were when we came to you last for the podcast. So we just got to keep chipping there.
Yeah. And it's not bad to be in the peloton. It just gives you that chance to really leap ahead as the other guys kind of just fall back. So
lay in the weeds and pounce, baby.
That's right.
All right, boys. Any final thoughts here as we Friday we'll be back at it with some baseball. I'm glad we were able to podcast tonight, but it's hard out here with nothing to do for the next 2 days as far as baseball goes.
Yeah.
I just want to get the people excited. Hype video coming out Friday.
Maybe go read a book or something to pass the time.
We got some good moments in the first half, Steve. I'm looking forward to that. There's some good big flies, some good plays from Elly, and some great pitching, some strikeouts.
I think I've got the perfect song to sync up for it too. So I've been playing this song for a good 3 weeks now. It's just been stuck in my head. So I think I think I got something cooking in the old hopper up here. So watch out for that on Friday.
Love it.
All right, boys. I'm hungry. It's only 7 p.m. here on the West Coast, and I'm missing dinner. Someone made lasagna, so yeah.
Get that lasagna, Garfield, baby. Let's go.
We got 30 people here, and there's a bunch of kids, so you got to feed
30.
them. Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Oh yeah. We do it big.
I like that. That's nice.
That's fun.
Well, thank you for leaving your family and talking some ball with us, John.
Yeah. No, sure thing, buddy. All right, boys. Looking forward to Steve. By the way, I'll be connecting through Phoenix, which is kind of an annoying connection coming from Oregon. But so Phoenix to Cincinnati, how's that flight?
It's not bad. It's a good, solid 4 hours. Just enjoy some sleepy time. Sleepy time tea or whatever your
bevies.
Drink on the plane. Drink on the plane.
Hey, if a company wants to sponsor us,
that'd be great.
I think you've got 3 happy taste testers here. So, or
there you
2. I don't know about you, Don. I don't know what you get down with. So
I partake.
Okay, all right.
Dabbles. He's a dabbler.
If anybody's out there, call us the Big Red Smokies. So
all right, boys. We'll be back at it in a couple of weeks and see where the boys are at. I'm looking forward to it. I'm cautiously optimistic. I got hurt pretty badly around this time last year, but I'm cautiously optimistic. And Steve, my last point here, I think you made a good point. We kind of glossed over it, or we moved on. Rather than being in the mix and then falling out of it, like we've had happen. I kind of like the team being right outside of it and coming from behind a little bit. It's a little harder to be hurt right at the end of that way. No epic collapse if you're not in a playoff spot to begin with. So
right where you just like NFL fans say, right, the place you want to be is in the hunt. You're in that in the hunt graphic right now. So you're not in the spot, but you're in the hunt, baby.
All right, boys, let's keep the optimism going. Rob, let's try to get to some games soon. Steve,
no doubt.
Before long, and hey, go Red Legs.
Go Red Legs, baby.
Let's go.
All righty.